Welcome back to Power Director Made Simple. In previous videos we have learned that the basic parts of the program interface, how to produce a simple video, and how to utilize titles in your videos. In this video we're going to take an in-depth look at trimming video clips. These undesirable parts will occur in three areas of your video clip: at the beginning, somewhere in the middle, or at the end. Let's drag down just one clip to the timeline for the purposes of this video. If you play the video, you will notice that the first few seconds of this clip are not quite focused and the color is all off. Let's get rid of that part. There are two methods of doing this in Power Director. Both accomplish the same thing, but one can be a little more precise if you wish to get down to the exact frame where the video changes. The first method is to merely use your mouse directly on the video clip. Click on the button to view the entire video. This allows us to look more closely at the entire video clip. Notice that Power Director tries to show the frame images as best as possible in the space that is allowed on the timeline. Click on the clip to select it. It turns blue in color. Of course, the big question is, just how do you know how much to trim off, because you really can't see all of the frames or where the changes occur? The answer is simple. Before you trim, just slowly move the playhead across the timeline from the beginning to wherever you think the focus and the color are acceptable, and release the mouse button to stop the playhead at that position. Make a mental note of the exact time on the timeline by hovering your mouse over the playhead, the white triangle. In this case, I stopped at time position 01:10, which means we're going to remove the first 1 second and 10 frames from the beginning. Now, hover your mouse over the beginning of the clip until you see the double-sided arrow. Click and drag your mouse to the right to the time position of 01:10 and release the mouse button. Because we have only one clip on the timeline right now, there will be no other options or selections. Just the unwanted portion is removed and there is left behind a blank area on the timeline. If you wanted to make a movie out of this one clip, you would need to manually move the clip to the left, stopping at the beginning, thus eliminating the blank area. But if you were to have additional clips off to the right of this one, when you release the mouse button, you would see up to 3 choices that would have to be made. Let's see what that would look like. Let's start all over by deleting the clip on the timeline. Now drag down the same first clip, followed by another which we'll place to the right of the first clip. In addition, drag down a sound file and place it on track 2 so that it aligns with the beginning of the second clip. Hit the button to view the entire video in the timeline. Select the first clip. Now, when you drag the mouse from the beginning of a clip, you will have 3 choices. The first is to trim only. Select trim only. This removes the unwanted portion and leaves everything else in its same place on the timeline. Let's undo that by hitting Ctrl-Z. Repeat the same action, but select trim in move clips. This time it takes away the unwanted portion and moves clips from the right on track 1 to fill in the gap. But notice that the sound effect on track 2 did not move. If that sound effect was timed to a certain event in the video clip on track 1, such as the beginning of that second clip, then the timing would now be off. Let's try the third method to see what happens. Hit Ctrl-Z to go back 1 step. Select the same amount to be trimmed, but this time choose Trim and Move All Clips. Notice that this time the unwanted portion was removed, the gap on track 1 was filled in, but most importantly, all other clips, such as the audio clip, were moved the same amount to keep the timing correct. Once again, hit Ctrl-Z to return back. This method of using the mouse to trim a clip works the same way if you wanted to remove something from the end of a clip. Make sure the clip is selected. Hover your mouse until you see the double-sided arrows. Click and drag to whatever amount you want to remove. But what if you wanted your amount to be trimmed to be very precise? For example, maybe to get to the first frame which shows the image in focus and the color perfect. Let's see how that method can work. Let's return back to the clips by hitting Ctrl-Z twice. And because we want to look closely for an exact position, let's zoom in on the timeline by clicking and dragging to the right so that we are looking very closely at the first clip. Now you are starting to see almost the exact position that the colors and focus cleared up. If you slowly move the playhead, you'll be at about 0105 on the timeline. Here is a very important tip. Look up in the preview window and notice it shows a time position of 0105. But look at the various buttons available to you in order to play the video. Hover your mouse over them and look for the two buttons that say Go to Previous Frame and Go to Next Frame. If you click on these one at a time, you can determine the exact frame at which you would want to trim your video. By selecting the exact frame, you will probably end up right at 0105 on this clip. This time we are going to trim the video not by dragging the mouse either left or right, but by entering a command to split the video. By splitting the video, we'll end up with two pieces of the clip, and we can then just delete the part that we don't want. PowerDirector makes it very easy for you to split a clip. With the clip selected, hit the razor knife looking tool on the left side above the timeline. Notice that there are now two clips. Here's another way. Hit Ctrl-Z to go back. This time, right-click on the clip and select Split from the menu that appears. And there is yet a third way. Hit Ctrl-Z to go back. This time, just hit Ctrl-T, which is a keyboard shortcut in PowerDirector to split the clip. Whichever method you use to split a clip, you can zoom in and move the playhead to a very precise position ahead of time. Hit the View Entire Movie button and notice that you have two clips where the first clip used to appear. After splitting a clip, PowerDirector will automatically select one of those clips and turn it blue. But pay very close attention before you hit the delete key. PowerDirector does not know which one you intend to delete, the one on the right or the one on the left. Make sure you have the correct one selected. In this case, PowerDirector pre-selected the longer clip on the right, and if we were to hit the delete key now, it would be the wrong one. Click on the smaller clip to the left and select it, and then hit the delete key. Now, a very powerful feature of PowerDirector comes up. PowerDirector is asking you exactly what to do after it deletes the second clip. Very similar to the options we just saw. This time, you should see three nearly identical options. Remove it and leave gap, remove it and fill gap, or remove it, fill the gap, and move all clips. If all of your clips are on just track 1, then you could select to remove it and fill the gap. Or if you have other clips on other tracks, then you'd want to move all clips. In this case, let's select to remove it, fill the gap, and move all clips. Finally, we come to the problem of trimming something out of the middle of a clip. In this case, you cannot just use your mouse, as we are able to do trimming from the beginning or from the end, but rather you will need to split the clip twice. Once at the start of the portion to be removed, and once again at the end of that portion to be removed. Let's go back to where we started by looking at the original clip by using Ctrl-Z to undo the previous actions. Let's make the video clips take up all of the visible timeline by hitting that button. Looking at the images of the video frames, you can see that at around the 6-second mark there is an object that passes in front of the camera. Let's remove that portion that shows that object. It will be very helpful to zoom in on the timeline by clicking and dragging all the way to the right until we can see the exact first frame in which the object starts to appear. Click on the timeline to place the playhead at that position. Now, up in the preview window, use the previous frame or next frame buttons to make sure you are on the exact frame where the unwanted object first appears. Once at that position, we'll hit the knife tool to split the clip. Now we have to find the exact position where the object finally leaves the view. Depending upon how much you had zoomed in on the timeline, you may need to move the playhead quite a distance. But remember, since you are zoomed in extensively, you would not really be moving quite a distance in time, but just over quite a few frames. Around the 8-second position is where it seems that the object disappears from view. Once again, use the next or previous frame buttons in the preview window to find that exact frame where this occurs. Once again, hit the knife tool to split the clip at that position. If you now hit the button to view the entire movie all at once, you'll see that the first clip is now split into 3 separate clips, with the small one in the middle being that portion that we want to remove. Click on that small clip, hit delete, and select remove, fill gap, and move all clips. The larger clip to the right will then automatically slide over to fill the gap. The audio clip on track 2 will also move to keep things in time. And now, when you play a short portion of that clip, the unwanted object has been removed. Remember, in your own video that you want to create, you should spend a lot of time trimming each of these video clips. I suggest doing this as one of your first operations before you even think about adding titles, transitions, or background music. Keep your video clips short, to the point, and simple. And speaking of background music, the next video will deal with that very subject, choosing an appropriate piece of music or sound effect and how to add it to your movie.